Welcome to the latest edition of the Fourth and Goal podcast. We've got, I think, a good one today. We're doing the AFC West preview. What a division, Paul. I mean, before we get to what Vegas thinks, we've got four head coaches that are just some of the best in the league. We're talking all four of them are in the top 10 wins of active head coaches in the league. Two of them are in the top three in win percentage. Three of them have won a Super Bowl. One of them's come close, has a national championship. And we're just talking about the coaches. We haven't even got to the teams. This is one of the better divisions, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And this is year two for Peyton and Harbaugh. So how much are those two squads going to come on in year two with the familiarity they're going to have after having a new head coach and Pete Carroll going to the Raiders? How much are the Raiders going to improve under Pete Carroll? You know he's going to get everybody at least, rah rah and compete with Pete Carroll. So how much will the Raiders improve? But they're all trying to chase down the Chiefs, who it's crazy to think they've won this division 9 years running. The all-time record is the Patriots with 11. So
Wow.
it's in sight. And they've still got 15 at quarterback and Andy Reid at head coach and Spags on defense and Chris Jones and Kelsey still hanging around. So they could do it. They could do it. But yeah, this is, like you said, you hit it. Like great coaches and sneaky good quarterbacks as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got the headline, you've got the superstar, you've got Mahomes, but you got Bo Nix into year two. You've got Herbert, who had one of, or if not his best year last year, with at least in the regular season. Let's not talk about postseason Herbert, but regular season Justin Herbert was spectacular last year. Geno Smith
Who
with
couldn't play?
he couldn't play until he went to go and play for his now head coach Pete Carroll in Seattle, and now Pete Carroll's gone back. Yeah, this division is very interesting, and yeah, I can't wait to get into it.
It's staggering, the stat that I saw earlier, that over the course of regular season and playoffs, Andy Reid has surpassed 300 wins.
Yeah.
300. You know, they are the team to beat, and we're definitely going to get into it. So why don't we take a look at what Vegas is making, or what Vegas is thinking for this division? So I think it comes as no surprise. The Chiefs are the favourites at 5-6. Their over under is 11 and a half wins. Now, when you look at second favourite, that's the Chargers at 11-4. Their over under is coming in at 10 and a half wins. We then have the Broncos as the third favourite, 16-5. 9.5 wins is their over under. And then, yeah, bringing up the rear, it is the Raiders, 11-1 to win the division. 5.5 wins is their over under. Now, Pete Carroll, I thought, had a great quote this week. He said, "I've won 10 games a year for 20 years." That's a big statement coming into Vegas with the Raiders, but he's got the track record.
Okay, so my follow-up question to that would be, yeah, but Pete Carroll's how old and for how many years has he been coaching? Because yeah, if it's 20 years and I'm a young head coach, fair enough, but his he's been coaching for a long time. Yeah, he's coached a great team, LSU, not USC, sorry, back in the day, and national championship with USC, probably the last great USC team. And yeah, with Seattle turning that franchise around, kind of, he was there at the start of the Beast Quake, the Beast,
Mm.
the wild card game against the Saints, and was there for the whole Legion of Boom journey.
They had some great drafts. Him coming from college, they had some just knock it out of the park drafts, maybe 2 or 3 years running.
Yeah, Sherman 5th round, Russell Wilson 3rd round, Cam Chancellor I don't think was.
He was like 5th round.
Yeah, and yeah, they just hit it all over the place, like they're drafting, and yeah, they just should have won the Super Bowl twice, should have been 2-time Super Bowl champions if they just ran the ball. But anyway, that's a different story. He's got a chance to come back into the NFL and yeah, compete against these coaches and these rosters. This is a really, really good division. 3 playoff teams last year. Could well be 3 playoff teams again. Some interesting over-unders. If you think the Chiefs are favourites, they're only ahead of the Chargers by a win.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs won 15 regular season games last year. And they pulled all the starters for
the last game they did.
They
against the Broncos.
Yeah, which let the Broncos into the playoffs. And so if that had been a fair fight, you could say the Chiefs could have won 16 regular season. They could have been 16-1.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of questions because the Chiefs won, was it 11-12?
Yeah.
11-12, like 1-possession games.
Yeah.
And they had like the doink field goal. They had the blocked field goal go their way against the Broncos. Like a lot of things went their way last year. But it's a long way to go from the Chargers. Yeah, the Chargers 11-6 to the Chiefs 15-2, and the Chiefs gave up the last game of the season. So 4 wins seems a lot for the Chargers
to make up.
Yeah, and the Broncos as well, even 5 wins. But yeah, there are questions because year 2 with Harbaugh, they had, from what I've heard, quite a decent draft. They love their draft. And the Broncos, like Bo Nix, he didn't seem ready to start. And that's fair enough because he's one of the toughest positions to play, being Sean Payton's quarterback as a rookie. Sean Payton's play calls are famously complex. Like I've seen Drew Brees on the talk shows, like just reciting the play call. Drew Brees said they were challenging, like a veteran. And yeah, so
Nix came on towards the end of the regular season. I felt like, like after having like the sideline rows with Peyton early on, like he did come on well. I think he'll be disappointed with that playoff game against the Bills, but I think there's a lot of promise there.
There is, and yeah, he should now be familiar with this offense, and the Broncos have helped him. I mean, we'll go into the Broncos, but they seem to have helped him with 2 running backs because their running game was a weakness last year.
And he was part of the running game last year because of those deficiencies.
So I heard this, and this amazed me. Jaden Daniels was number 2 in the NFL in rushes, so Jaden Daniels was number 2 in yards per rush when under pressure at 7 point something. Number 1 in the NFL in yards per rush when under pressure was Bo Nix at 9 point something. So he pretty much got a first down every time the other team blitzed him and he took off.
I mean, it was one of your go-tos last year that definitely paid dividends was Bo Nix rushing.
Because he was undervalued in the market. I just saw, looking through the bets on a Sunday, Bo Nix was kind of under the radar. If you're going to give me 40 yards and Jaden Daniels is 50-something, I'm going to take Bo Nix, and I did very well out of Bo Nix rushing yards last year. So hopefully they continue to undervalue him. I'll continue to hit that bet.
Yeah. And just on the Raiders, I mean, I know Pete Carroll, like, he is a great personality. He is a very good coach.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they get to 10, but 5.5 is somewhat intriguing. I mean, this is a very difficult division. If he was in the AFC South and it was 5.5, well, it wouldn't be 5.5 then. I'd feel a lot more confident. But yeah, maybe, I mean, it's a teaser, I think. It's a low number. It's Pete Carroll, but then it is also the Raiders.
Well, look, they've improved at head coach,
Yeah.
court, and
Mhm.
and yeah, but it's the two the two things don't really go together: gambling and the Raiders, unless you're betting against the Raiders historically.
Mm.
I hear you. 5.5 is low. 5.5, but it could be one of those bets you place and then you regret in October and you think, what the hell was I doing betting the Raiders over?
Yeah.
I think they'll be better, but there's a couple of things. Like they're in this division, it's year one, and their defense wasn't great last year and they lost some guys.
Mm.
So their defense could have a kind of you could have a Cincinnati kind of a defense in Vegas.
Mad Max can't do it all on his own. So,
Yeah, this is not a good defense all around, but
mm.
it's Pete Carroll and he is a defensive guy. He should at least get them organized, but I think they're lacking a bit talent wise, especially in the secondary. And
Mm.
that's not good in this modern NFL to not have great corners and safeties and linebackers who can run with running backs and tight ends.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna get into each team, but I thought we'd mix up a little bit, Paul. I've got a new uh sort of segment for you. It is start, bench, cut. So you're gonna start um you're gonna start the best player. You're gonna bench the player that you think, okay, he's not good enough to start, but there might be something there. And then you can just cut the outright worst player. And I'll play along as well. So let's start with quarterback. Start, bench, cut. Let me say it again. Start, bench, cut. Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, Geno Smith.
So, uh, how do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do this like right now or potential or
However you want to do it. However you want to do it.
right? So I would, and I hate doing it. I like Geno, but I'm going to cut Geno Smith. He's just in a tough division to be a quarterback. It's no, there's no slight on Geno. He might be a starter in another division, but not in this one. I'd bench Bo Nix. Just think he's not all around. There's a lot to be excited about for the future, but he doesn't, for me, he's not prolific enough in the middle of the field, the sort of short to intermediate throws.
Mm.
I'd start Justin Herbert. But I'd add a caveat to that. I'd start Justin Herbert in the regular season. Give me regular season Justin Herbert. Because in the play,
Ooh.
he just seems to have his worst games, at least so far. But let's see if he kind of turns that around. Last year, Herbert surprised me because he turned into a really good quarterback with his legs, like taking off and making big plays on the ground. We know the arm talent. He's now got Harbaugh, who's an elite head coach. And I think the future is really, really bright for all of these quarterbacks, actually. Like, let's add in Mahomes. Like all four quarterbacks, I think, have a great future and a great present this year. I think this is a really interesting division for quarterbacks.
100%. And I agree. I can't really disagree with what you've said there. For me, Bo Nix, while I don't think he's going to be a superstar, he's played well enough to give me some curiosity. So it's no slight against Geno Smith. It's just that there's a curiosity there with me for Bo Nix, and I would start Herbert. Okay, next one, wide receiver, start bench cut, Xavier Worthy, Lad McConkey, Cortland Sutton.
Don't like any of them. Not to start anyway. Um, okay, so
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Like these aren't really like I know that Cortland Sutton is the Broncos' number one receiver. He wouldn't be one of your first 10 choices.
yeah, I'd cut Cortland Sutton.
Mm.
I like him, but I just I think the other two have more upside and can hurt you, especially after the catch, a lot more.
Yeah.
I'd bench McConkey. Yeah, I think he had a great rookie year, but I'm just going with the upside and I'm starting Xavier Worthy because just devastating speed. Um, another year with Andy Reid and Mahomes. If Rashee Rice gets suspended, which is looking likely, then he's going to have more reps. Like he's going to be more a focal point of this offense. But he's a Chiefs receiver, so let's just hope he can behave himself off the field so that he can produce on the field and just be healthy. Don't be a McCole Hardman. Just stay in this offense. Just listen to the coaching. Listen to the kind of the help you're going to get from Mahomes, like pre-snap. And I think he's got a great future, Xavier Worthy. So yeah, and they include him. It's a Chief, so they include him a lot in a lot of interesting plays, and I think that's going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, I think Xavier Worthy is one where the Chiefs haven't really um, unlocked his full potential yet. And yet we saw a number of big plays. Like, if there's one thing that I think Mahomes has struggled with in recent years, it is kind of those big plays downfield. And he found quite a few with Worthy. I think there's more to it than that. I think, like you said, the Chiefs can use him in a lot of different ways. They used him on a few sweeps. Like we saw that in the opener last year against the Ravens. Like I think that he could be this could be like a breakout candidate for this year.
Yeah, he's an interesting one. Player props rushing yards because I don't
Yeah.
remember it was, but it's very low. So if you find a Xavier Worthy anything around, I think it was 10.
Ooh, one sweep.
It's a sweep, yeah, and they generally get him involved about 1 to 2 plays a game in the running game,
Mm.
and it only takes one successful one to hit your. So it's a dangerous way to bet because he could have zero snaps rushing.
I love it though. I've got to say, I do love those ones because it's like receiver rushing yards, running back receiving yards. Like that is my wheelhouse. I do love those bets. Okay, so we've got one that is a projection. It's rookie running back, start bench cut. You've got RJ Harvey, Amarian Hampton, and Ashton Genty.
So this is tough because I've started to look into film of RJ Harvey and I really like this kid.
So do I.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna cut, and this is harsh, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna cut Hampton, just because,
Hmm.
and I know by draft I should cut Harvey, but I Hampton to me is doesn't have the Hampton to me is a bit more scheme dependent than Harvey. I think Harvey looks like an all around running back. Like he can run inside, outside. He can catch. He's quick.
His change of direction is crazy.
Yeah, I think he's an all around NFL running back. And Hampton, yeah, I look at him and go, yeah, you could almost like if he was in the lab, like that's a Jim Harbaugh kind of run. That's a Jim Harbaugh running back, similar to Najee Harris. It's a really tough. He's gonna, head down. He's gonna drive to pack forward. That kind of running back. But
I think he lacks breakaway speed. Like when I've seen some of his runs where, you know, open hole, he's hit it, great. Open field. A lot of the time, like he doesn't have the speed to finish that off. Like I feel like there's meat on the bone. Like he gets to like the 20-yard line, whereas Harvey or Genty, they probably take it to the house. But obviously he's like more physical. So yeah, welcome to Jim Harbaugh football. We're gonna smash you in the mouth. No surprises there.
yeah, he's perfect for Jim Harbaugh. But I want an all-around back, a three-down back, and that's to me more Harvey's bag. So I'd cut Hampton, bench Harvey, and start Genty, who, yeah, I mean, I'm really, really looking forward to this running back in this offense with a quite good offensive line, by the way, the Raiders. Kind of a sneaky under the radar offensive line. You don't think the Raiders have a good O line, but they kind of do. And I think they're going to be similar, at least in offensive mentality, to last year's Chargers. They're going to run the ball a lot with Genty.
Yeah.
Genty's a great player to pick up in fantasy football this year. He's gonna have, a Le'Veon Bell back in the day kind of Steelers kind of usage. Like he's gonna have, what's a crazy number? 350 touches this year.
Carries and receptions.
Yeah, and they're going to keep him on the field. The Raiders were dead last in the NFL in rushing last year. They're not going to be dead unless Genty gets hurt, and pray that he doesn't early in the season. Yeah, Genty's got to be the starter out of these three.
Yep, I can't disagree. I think you make a great case for RJ Harvey. I mean, I went with the draft. Like I had myself cutting Harvey, but with regret really, because that's one of the players that when I first saw him, I thought change of direction, crazy, crazy. I do like Hampton's mean streak, but it's one of those. It's like, what is your preference? I probably do want someone that can take it to the house,
Yeah.
and that isn't Hampton. Okay, next one. This one might be a little bit more clear cut. D line. I've got Zach Allen, Max Crosby, Chris Jones. Start, bench, cut.
So I'd cut Allen.
Yeah.
He doesn't come close to these other two.
Nope.
And right now, I bench Chris Jones.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've got to start Max Crosby. Just he's been doing it almost on his own on the Raiders defense for a number of years. And it's hard to be a superstar in the NFL on defense when you play for the Raiders and be noticed. And Crosby has done that. Fair play to him. He's got paid. He deserved to get paid. And yeah, he's just game wrecker. And to join this, when the pass rush in the NFL is this good, your Parsons, Watt, Garrett around the league, to join those guys takes a freak athlete. And this was not a high draft pick, by the way. Max Crosby. He was not highly drafted. So for him to done what he's done, yeah, he's got to be the starter. And he's still got gas in the tank. Jones is coming, towards the end now. But yeah, Crosby for the future and for the present.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, I was surprised when I thought, wow, I'm going to bench Chris Jones, but it comes down to where they are in their careers. Like, Crosby's still really in his prime. And it's one of the things that everyone raves about with Crosby, his motor. Like, he is a freak athlete. Um, Jones has had an unbelievable career, I think, and he's still one of the clutchest defensive players, but I'd have to go with Crosby as well. Okay, so lastly, secondary, we've got Derwin Jones, Derwin James, Trent McDuffie, Pat Satan.
So I'm going to get hate for this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to cut Derwin James. I just me. I've never really seen what the hype is about with Derwin James. He's a tough, strong safety that's physical, that can make plays down at the line of scrimmage, but I don't want him in coverage. And I don't know, when I've heard that he's one of the top safeties in the NFL, I want a more all around safety than Derwin James. And I think that you can pick up a physical, strong safety or a sub linebacker. You know, I don't think they're hard to find. And out of these three, I'm not I'm not starting Derwin James. Sorry. I bench McDuffie just because he's going against Pat Satan.
It's the
McDuffie,
only reason. It's the only reason. Because I love McDuffie.
yeah, McDuffie's really, really good. And but he's just not Pat Satan. He's not like, oh, we cannot throw to that side of the field. We just almost ignore that side of the field. He's not quite that guy. Pat Satan is now, the Broncos are thinking that, like with this draft, they've drafted a corner to at least challenge to be the starter opposite Pat Satan in Jardy Barron. And if he can start outside and you've got Pat Satan on that side, then basically it's going to be very difficult to throw on the Denver Broncos. It is already, but it's now going to be even more difficult. And this is how good teams operate. Like they didn't have a hole at corner. Well, I mean, they could slightly upgrade the outside corner. I believe it's Moss played on the outside, but he's not a weakness. He's just an adequate NFL starter. But now they're trying to add an elite corner on the outside to then partner with Satan on that side. They they got Hufanga in free agency, who's going to play down at the line of scrimmage. That's going to allow the free safety, who was the free safety last year, was asked to play down a little bit more. His strength is being a ball hawk, so he's now free to drop back, read the quarterback. Yeah, this Broncos secondary is kind of could be really, really scary. And the last time they won the Super Bowl, they had a really scary secondary. So
Oh, yes.
that's what they're trying to replicate. Good teams draft the best player available, regardless of need. They just take the best player. And Jardy Barron was supposed to be a top 10 pick, and they took him. I think they drafted in the late teens, the Broncos, like 18, 19, 20, around that range. And yeah, yeah, I take Pat Satan just because it's almost hard to get tape on Pat Satan because they don't throw at him. He's just not thrown at a lot. But to be Defensive Player of the Year when you've basically back to the Royal Revis kind of years, you've just shut down a half of the field. And yeah, this is a guy who was drafted, I think it was 10th. He wasn't even top 3 or 4 pick. That's a 10 back in the day. But yeah, he's the best out of those three. And he's a Defensive Player of the Year. So he's the best, according to last year, he's the best out of any three in the NFL right now.
I definitely take your point on Derwin James. It's one of those where I feel like he's in the wrong era. Like if he was playing in 2010, he'd probably cut more cover. I guess the status that he's got. But I agree. Like he's a little bit overrated for me. Satan and Barron. I mean, it's kind of like a flip of what everyone's doing at receiver, where everyone now says, one receiver isn't enough. We need two. So they're saying, well, you know what? One elite corner is not enough. We'll just take two. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really intrigued by this Broncos defense because it was very, very good last year. And I don't think we were expecting it to be. So now they've brought in Barron at corner, like you said. And if these two are healthy from San Francisco, particularly Greenlaw, yeah, this could be special.
So the Broncos are right up there in the whole of the NFL in sacks. I believe they were in the top 3 in sacks last year. And they sacks like they were towards the bottom of the NFL in blitz rate on third down. They blitzed on first and second down. And do you know why they can blitz on first and second down? Because they've got the secondary behinds. They can leave these guys to play man coverage, trusting that, right. And they only have to play man coverage for a couple of seconds before the pass rush gets home. Because the pass rush, I remember talking to you during the season, like, who are these guys on this Broncos defense?
Yeah, put some respect on their name. Like
going back to the old days, like the no-name defense.
Mm.
Who, at least in that front seven, there's no guys you go, oh, well, damn. They got Miles Garrett and TJ Watt on the outside, like rushing. No, these are just some dudes, but they're really aggressive and they blitz a lot on first and second down. And what that does is they leave the other team in third and long or third and 6 or above. And then they'll just play zone coverage with these guys. That's why
who can still get to the quarterback.
Yeah, but that's simple NFL defense. Like we're going to blitz you on first and second down because we've got the secondary to cover, and then we're going to leave you with third and long.
Is this a legit team that can dethrone the Chiefs in this division?
I think that's tough.
It is.
I think that's really tough. They won it 9 years in a row. All the critical guys are coming back. But there's no doubt the Broncos have improved. And we haven't even got on to, sorry to remind you, but your guy, your old man crush at linebacker, who is kind of crazy. He's, over the last few years, PFF have Dre Greenlaw ranked the number 4 linebacker in coverage.
Oh yeah, he's good in coverage.
So
he's a complete linebacker. Like I didn't mince my words when I said before that Fred Warner, best linebacker in football, but Dre Greenlaw can stand right there next to him. Like he is awesome, and that is a huge loss for my 49ers.
Yeah, if Greenlaw can stay healthy and Hufanga can stay healthy, because that's the question with those two, then that's a huge upgrade to this Denver defense that was already really, really good last year. And yeah, they've upgraded the running game. like not to get too far ahead of myself, but I do have them slightly ahead of the Chargers, the Broncos, only slightly, but I think it's a tall order to catch the Chiefs just because it's Mahomes, it's Andy Reid, it's Spags, it's the Chiefs. You know, until you see it, until they do get knocked off, I think it's easy to get caught up in the Broncos and the Chargers have improved and the Chiefs have slightly regressed, but they made it to the Super Bowl last year. And yeah, they got blown off the field by the Eagles, but that's the Eagles. That's when the Eagles are rolling. And what would that game look like if it was the Broncos on that field or the Chargers? It would have been the same result or slightly worse.
And you got to bear in mind the Chiefs' offensive line issues. I mean, the game was a not a non-game because they couldn't protect Mahomes. So
yeah, and it's easy to think that the Chiefs have a terrible O line just because it's the last game that we've seen. But that's against that Eagles defensive line. Like, so yeah, the Chiefs do have questions on the O line.
They were banged up though. Like you're right. Like to say that the Chiefs don't have a good O line. No, it's just one of those. Like when they played against the Buccaneers, they literally lost both tackles in the AFC Championship that year. So they've got a tackle who apparently could be the best tackle in the draft in Josh Simmons. He fell because of the usual kind of character issues. We'll see how that unfolds.
He's
Some have
he's
some
coming off
of yeah.
He's coming off a big injury, so yeah, he was, like you said, he was supposed to be, if healthy, probably the best tackle or at least the second best tackle in this draft, but he fell because of injury concerns. But that is a problem for the Chiefs in losing Tooney and replacing him with a rookie. So, but it's still the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs are getting Rashee Rice back.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they do, yeah, because he's going to get a suspension of some sort, but maybe it won't be too hefty because his case is now settled. I can't remember exactly the details. I think they said it's like 30 days of time, and I don't know, is it like 5 years suspended? So he obviously has to keep his nose clean now. But you're right. I mean, I want to see Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy together build. They offer like the perfect combo because Rashee Rice is great underneath, and Xavier Worthy can take the top off and do all the sweeps. So you've got the potential for something very, very good here. I'm not saying either of them are going to be the best receivers in the league, but that's not what the Chiefs are really looking for, I don't think. They're looking for guys like this that will kind of go under the radar a bit, and they don't necessarily have to pay them top dollar.
Yeah, and they're still the best in this division at the most important position on the field. They still have the best quarterback. And I want to hear this, Mahomes regressed. No, you're just not watching the game correctly. It's just easy to say, stats. No, they still made the Super Bowl.
Stats, yeah. I mean, and context. I mean, and you hear me say it about Josh Allen all the time. Well, let's look at Mahomes's supporting cast and tell me which of these players get on other teams. Does Isaiah Pacheco get on your team, Paul? Like, with all due respect, he's a productive running back, but he's not elite, Okay, Xavier Worthy definitely has potential. Kelsey has had a great career, but this is not prime Travis Kelce anymore, right? You
No.
know, for me, these guys are just kind of average. And again, the quarterback makes them probably better than they are now. This is not a situation where Mahomes has got AJ Brown at receiver and Saquon at running back, or a tandem of T Higgins and Jamar Chase. It's just not that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the Chiefs had and do have salary cap issues, and they've navigated. They seem to be navigating those salary cap issues, and they're still going to be really, really good. They haven't gone out and made a splash move and kind of mortgaged the future. They're living in the present with Andy Reid and Mahomes, and they're still going to be really good. So the other two teams are playing catch up, and it's a long way to go because it's easy to say, "Oh yeah, well the Broncos. I think this is going to be the year. It's got to be the year that the Chiefs get dethroned." Yeah, because it's almost like we
We're
want
waiting for it to happen.
we're wishing into existence. Well, it's easier said than done. They won 15 regular season games last year, and they still navigated through the AFC playoffs, so made it to the Super Bowl. And the Eagles, let's face it, were the best team in the NFL last year. Best and just superstar talent all around. Devastating O-line, D-line, but the Chiefs.
The defense was number one at the end of the day, and then you add that with what they have on offense, best offensive line, Saquon, AJ Brown. That was a tall order for a Chiefs team that looked tired throughout the season. This has been a journey for them. There's been some great highs, but when you're playing 3 extra games every playoffs, compared to other teams, they've basically played an additional season compared to most teams over the last 5 years. It adds up.
Yeah.
And yet they're still here every year in the AFC Championship.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to do a win-loss?
Yes, that's a good point. We are going to do the Broncos win-loss. I thought that given the curiosity with this team, they have improved. We're going to find out just how much they've improved, according to Paul. So let's go through the win-loss. Week 1. Ooh. Talk about, welcome to the NFL, Cam Ward, home to the Titans.
Yeah, welcome to the NFL, going into Mile High with this defense. That's a win.
At Colts.
I have them winning that.
Week 3 at the Chargers.
They drop this.
I mean, week 4, they gave us one of the games of the seasons at home to the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm going to say they drop this.
Oh, it doesn't get any easier. Week 5 at the Eagles.
I think it'll be close, but they still lose this game.
3-game slide. Can they bounce back at Jets?
They bounce back. They win.
And it looks like it's a back-to-back against New York teams, home to the Giants.
That's a win.
The next game is the Cowboys, and last week you said Broncos win.
Yeah.
So that brings us to at Texans.
I'm going to say that they drop this.
Home to the Raiders.
That's a win.
Home to the Chiefs.
I say they win.
At Commanders.
I say they drop this one.
At Raiders.
Win.
Okay, it's a sweep. Home to the Packers.
Loss.
Mm. Home to the Jags.
Win.
At Chiefs.
Loss.
Yep, so they've split. And finishing up home to the Chargers.
They win.
So another split.
So I have them
9-8.
no 10-7.
You got them 10-7. So where did I go wrong? So we got Titans win, Colts win. Then they have the 3-game slide: Chargers, Bengals, Eagles. Beat the Jets.
Yeah.
Beat the Giants. Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right. Cowboys 10-7. So let me say that again. You've got them at 10-7, which is right on their number.
Yeah, I think the difficult games I found were Bengals and Packers,
Yeah.
and even at Texans. I can see them. I have them losing all three of those games. They could easily win all three of them.
You
Bengals,
never know what you're going to get from the Bengals early in the season.
yeah,
That
it's Joe Burrow. It's
it's tricky.
Joe Burrow against Bo Nix, and I know it's the Broncos defense, but if Joe Burrow can just avoid the pass rush for long enough, then the
Yeah.
Bengals are going to score too many points for the Broncos. We saw that last year in that.
And Chase, while he didn't go crazy, like he had a good battle with Satan. Like I think he got to 90. You know, it was a stingy 90. Don't get me wrong, but of course, there's a reason why T Higgins then went for like 200. So
Yeah,
um,
I think that the Bengals will score more points because it's going to be hard because the Broncos don't have a prolific offense to keep up with a team like the Bengals. When the
yeah.
Bengals roll in, they really get rolling.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But the Bengals, I heard the crazy stat that the Bengals were 0-3 or 0-4 in games where they scored more than 31 points last year.
Wow.
It's just crazy. It just tells you everything that you need to know about the problems in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
For 31 points or more, and you lose every single game. Like, what the hell?
Yep.
And Packers, I think, is a bad matchup, but 10-7, 10-7, like,
There or thereabouts, it's one of those where situationally, if you take advantage of those one score games or you get a bit of luck,
yeah,
10-7 could very much look like 12-5. It could look like 8-9. It's going to be one of those, but certainly this is a very difficult team to play against.
yeah. Right, so you're doing Chargers, right?
I am doing Chargers.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Right, kick off the regular season in Brazil, home for the Chiefs, or in Brazil for the Chiefs.
It's a loss.
At Raiders.
I'm going to say loss.
So home for the Broncos. 0-2, home for the Broncos.
They have to win, so I'm going to say win.
At the Giants.
Win.
Home for the Commanders.
This is one I picked last week. I said win. A win for the Chargers.
Okay, at the Dolphins. Cross country.
Oh, our favourite. I'm guessing it's a 1 o'clock game.
An early game.
I'm going to say win.
Home for the Colts.
Win.
So they're on a 5-game streak after starting 0-2. Home for the Vikings on Thursday night.
I'm gonna say loss.
At the Titans.
That's a win.
Home for the Steelers.
I remember this last year. You're not going to run the ball on the Steelers, but it's in LA.
Yep.
I'll go Chargers, get their revenge, win.
At Jacksonville.
I'm going to say win.
Home for the Raiders.
Yep, they're going to split, so they win that one.
Home for the Eagles.
I'm going to say loss.
At the Chiefs.
They're going to do what they always do, get in a winning position and lose.
At the Cowboys.
Win.
Home for the Texans.
I say win.
And at the Broncos to finish.
Loss.
Okay, so you have them 11-6.
So Vegas seems to be right on the number.
Or
both, or
we're right on the number and Vegas follow us.
yes, exactly. There you go.
We don't look at the Vegas win-loss heading into this. We just call.
Because there's going to be some hiccups. That's the thing, and there's probably going to be a couple of surprises. I mean, when you said win for Broncos against the Chiefs, I fully expect the Broncos to split.
Yeah,
because they should have won last year, and we've seen it even prior to Sean Payton. They just they can get at the Chiefs. So
yeah, I mean, you had them splitting with the Raiders. I had the Broncos sweeping the Raiders.
Yeah,
Raiders can easily. We've seen that. I mean, you remember the regular season game last year with the Chiefs, where how did the Raiders lose that? Like,
yeah.
So
yeah.
And this was with what was this? O'Connell?
Was it Aidan O'Connell on Christmas? Yeah.
So they didn't have great quarterback play, and they hung around with the Chiefs, and the Raiders were the worst rushing team in the NFL. But the Chiefs seem to want to be in close games every single week.
Yeah, it's. I tell you what. I think it was Chris Sims that said it. Like, I thought this summed up the Chiefs well. He basically was saying that the Chiefs have mastered the art of winning, but they've forgotten how to dominate. Like, the know how to win, we saw it last year. How many games did they win by one score? But they do often play with their food. Like, there's games where you're sort of like, oh, they're off to a great start. And 3 or 4 years ago, they blow out that team. It's not happening very often. I can think of one game maybe against the Saints last year, but that's the Saints. I mean, that's like one of the worst teams in the NFL. They slowly, dominated them. I think as well, there is a point to that. You need some games that are sort of done by the fourth quarter, because it matters to get any type of rest. When you're in a dogfight every single week, potentially in overtime most weeks, you're basically going to the last second. That adds up over the season as well.
Yeah, but I think it's too easy to say that, like, they've got fatigue because they're in these games. They've still got. We said it. This is a really tough division for head coaches, but this is still. I'm going to say it. This is still the best head coach in this division, and it's definitely still the best quarterback in this division. And they just know games.
They do.
Yeah, it's a little bit of luck, like the block field goal and the doink. But okay, that's two out of how many games was it last year? 10. So if you give me if you give me an over under, like if it's heads or tails, Chiefs, if you say, heads the Chiefs win by one score or tails they lose by one score, I'm gonna bet the over on they win more than they lose.
Yeah.
If you give me if you give me 10 to 11 a pop, that like over under Chiefs win in one score games. No, there was I think it was 2 years ago. The Vikings had a crazy record with Cousins, like
So good.
13-4 or something, and they won a stupid amount of one score games.
Hmm.
That kind of came back to normal because it's Kirk Cousins. No, this is Patrick Mahomes. So he's been there and done it, and and it's Andy Reid. I would still bet that they will win if it's a one score. If you tell me before the game starts, this is going to be decided by one score. The Chiefs win.
I
I
mean, if
can't.
if you're starting the fourth quarter and they're down by 10, I'm probably going to take them to win most times as well.
Yeah, I mean that's an angle betting and running when the Chiefs are down in the fourth quarter. Just whatever the point spread is, just take the Chiefs plus. Take the Chiefs little sprinkle on the money line and take the Chiefs plus because they're going to come back. Like if they're down multiple scores, they might find it hard to come back. That's the thing. They're not explosive like the old Chiefs, but
Yeah.
they're just really tough, and they'll find a way to come back into most games if you let them. That's the thing. You have to kind of stomp on them early, get them down multiple scores in the second half. Don't let them come back because they will find a way to come back. You have to get up by multiple scores on this team.
And it is because right now they are a defensive team. They will make stops on you. And even though, like I said, I don't think it's talent wise the best offense, as you've said, it's 15, it's Andy Reid. They find a way to unlock your defense in the end. So do what the Eagles did. You know, when you knock them down, stamp on their throat and don't give them any chance of coming back. I mean, the old Chiefs, they were unbelievable. Down 28 in the first half against the Texans, and by halftime they were leading. Like that's just ridiculous. They're not that anymore, but they have how many comebacks have they had? Like this is not the team to mess around with when you're in front. And I know that firsthand being a 49er fan. I've seen it twice, crushing as it is. You have to respect them. And you made a point earlier today, Paul, that I think we should touch on. Are the Chiefs, do they get their dues? Do they get the credit they deserve for just this unbelievable run? I get the fatigue of seeing the same team winning or, being in the Super Bowl. You've got to respect what they've done, though.
Yeah, I think it's a natural thing to hate those that are on top, especially if you follow a team in the AFC. You just want to see a new team. You kind of favor, if you don't have a dog in the fight, then you're kind of rooting for your CJ Strouds, Lamar Jacksons, Josh Allens, because there might be a little bit of a hangover as well from the Patriot era. We've had a dynasty almost back to back in the AFC. Patriots then, and they crossed over as well. They crossed over
Yeah.
just as Brady was leaving New England, Mahomes was arriving in Kansas, and yeah, so it's been tough. It's been tough in the AFC for a long time now. If you make it through the AFC, you have earned your place and your right to be in the Super Bowl. But this team have won 9 division titles in a row, and they've had some problems. Like they've had some personnel problems, and you've got to give them credit because they've made big decisions. Trading Tyreek Hill, and to start it all off, the trade that they made to go and get Mahomes. I don't know if it's true or not, but like they jumped the Saints, and apparently Peyton was there, and Peyton and Reed were the only ones that were in on the Mahomes. Well, almost a secret at the time. That yeah, so Peyton was right there, ready to draft him, and Peyton, Andy Reid obviously knew that and knew they had to jump the Saints. They did. The rest is history.
Just on that, apparently it got so close with the Saints that in the draft room, or wherever they were holding their draft, Drew Brees was there, and the front office were getting so awkward that who's going to tell Drew that we're going to draft a quarterback? And then of course the Chiefs leapfrogged them.
Well, it didn't come to that, did it? Yeah, and how would history look right now if they couldn't have made that trade? They couldn't have.
Who knows?
Up.
Who knows?
And
Because
they made.
that's the thing with Mahomes. Like, I'm sure he was destined to be a great player, wherever he landed. But the fact that he landed with Andy Reid, it just feels like they really meshed, with. I mean, we've seen with Andy Reid, he almost brought Alex Smith an MVP. So, and that's no disrespect to Alex Smith, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. And, I think it's one of those where Reid knew he was getting, a talent, and he's helped Mahomes get to where Mahomes is today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's coaching, it's situation. What would the NFL future, what would the NFL present look like if he had been drafted by the Giants, for example?
Yeah.
Or the Titans? You just don't know. So yeah, the Chiefs a little bit. I don't know, like maybe it's the ref thing, the rumors about the calls. Maybe it's because Mahomes is seen to like criticize the refs on almost every call that doesn't go in the way, or maybe we're just paying attention because it's the Chiefs.
Mm.
I know that other quarterbacks are constantly on at the refs, but
Yeah.
we live in a clickbait society where it's a headline and then it just gets reposted and suddenly it almost becomes truth. So you're almost looking for something that, and maybe that just exists everywhere in the NFL. Maybe every team is on at the ref about, especially the quarterbacks, about calls. And it's just highlighted because it's Mahomes, because they've won 9 division titles in a row, because we want to see a new champion. But you've got to give them credit for what they have achieved. And they haven't done it in a, I don't want to say underhand way like the Patriots, but they've done it a little bit with a smile on their face. They've done it with, in the early days, like electric play calling and just explosive plays. And they can do it in multiple ways. They had the offense in the early days, and then more recently we've seen the defense kind of come into its own.
Yeah, they've literally reinvented themselves a few times. Like, you think at the start it was high flying Mahomes, then it became kind of surgical Mahomes. Like, we're gonna run the ball, and we're gonna have 15 play drives where I'm just gonna throw a short curl route to the receiver on the outside, or Kelsey's gonna work the middle, or it's they've definitely done it in a multitude of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I just think we have to give them credit. Just overall,
Yeah.
they're they might not be the flashiest team, especially right now in the NFL, but they're probably the most efficient overall.
Mm.
I want I want the Chiefs in a close game, in a tight game, in a
Yeah.
situational game. You know, I don't trust a lot of teams or a lot of coaches in these judgment call kind of games, but I trust the Chiefs. And
Especially fourth quarter.
yeah, it's frustrating when you're playing against them, but you have to give them credit where it's due. Like they're they're just the Chiefs. Like they'll just always be around. So we want to find a way to say it's the Broncos or say it's the Chiefs or say, oh, the Raiders have improved. Yeah, but how much have they improved? Because it's a great difference. And every time that these teams, these challengers do improve, the Chiefs just find a way to just be a little bit better or just win those close games, especially in division. And then at the end of the regular season, you go, oh, they won the division again. Ah, they won it. They won it kind of close by a couple of games. But it's not going to be easy because this is not the Bills in the AFC East now. They've
No
had
way.
they've had years where the division's been lesser. It's not this year. Not this year. So you have to give them credit, especially they made it to the Super Bowl. They won 15 games in a year where three teams made the playoffs from this division.
The challenge is real for sure. And, you know, I am a diehard 49ers fan, and this team has ripped my heart out twice. But I don't have any hatred to them because I know their greatness. You know, I wish it wasn't this way. I wish that I could sit here and say, you know, I have two memorable moments in the last 5 years, but I've got instead two nightmares, two moments I want to forget because of this team. But I acknowledge their greatness. Like, I can't hate them because they're great. Like, I really do respect them. And, you know, I love Mahomes. You know, I love what the Chiefs have been about. And I just don't like, you know, it's like you said, it's human nature. I mean, if the Eagles go and win the Super Bowl again this year, it's going to happen to them. But I just don't, I'm not with the hate to the Chiefs.
Yeah, I just find them like more likable than the Patriots.
Oh,
It's
no
when
question.
he came into the league, it was just pure wow, what a throw. Like we I don't remember seeing that and the play calling and just the talent. It was amazing when he first came into the league. But with the Patriots, it's a little bit more. Oh, they're just really efficient, and they're just going to wait for you to make a stupid play, and they're never ever going to make a mistake, and they'll end
Pete
up.
Carroll.
Yeah, 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 the most famous of all, and of course they were shrouded in. Well, we don't want to get into the Patriots, but there was a lot of controversy behind the Patriots.
Exactly.
So, and they had, yeah, they won those 11 division titles, but the Patriots, but they didn't make it to the Super Bowl like every single year.
Mm.
There was a few years, there was the Manning Super Bowl. Like Manning made it through the AFC and the Steelers made it through the AFC a couple of times. Like the Patriots, and then when Brady got hurt and it was Matt Castle at quarterback, like they didn't make the playoffs. Like
The,
they weren't.
your man, Ladainian Tomlinson, the New York Jet, went into their house and said, "Not today."
Yeah, and one of the most heartbreaking playoff games I've ever seen was the Chargers. Look it up. The Chargers hosting the Patriots
With the injuries.
in the AFC title game, and yeah, Tomlinson playing hurt, but the Chargers picked off Brady, and the corner fumbled the ball on the run back, and the game is there. They've just got to get one first down, and it's game over. And he had the ball stripped by a Patriots receiver, as he was heading down, and that was the Chargers team that was 15-1 with Marty Schottenheimer, and they fired the head coach. They fired the head coach, the Chargers, when he went 15-1, hosted the AFC title game against the Patriots, and yeah,
Crazy.
Chargers players still talk about it to this day. Like, what the hell were we doing? We fired the head coach.
I remember LaDainian Tomlinson's football life. He couldn't believe it.
Yeah, well, he was mad at the Patriots won that game in their house, and then they danced in their logo at full. And Tomlinson, credit to him, headed out to the center of the field and asked them to leave the center of the field, shall we say, politely. And then, of course, he came into the locker room and he was interviewed and he was fuming, and he just said they just had no class.
That's right.
No class at all. And that comes from the culture there and the head coach. No respect.
Said that, yeah. So I think the Chiefs is different. Like they're far more likable. So I think we've hit on the Broncos. We've hit on the Chiefs. I think there is probably one other team in this division that you could consider maybe a contender for the division. It is the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, this time last year, Paul, this is a 5-12 team. And one of my bold predictions for last season was Jim Harbaugh will take this team to the playoffs. And it didn't make sense to you. It didn't really make sense to me. But that just tells you the intense belief I have in this head coach. He is a winner. Like, I know he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but his record speaks for itself. Like, I think he has the second highest winning percentage of all active head coaches right now. Only Nick Sirianni stands above him. And he proved exactly what I thought he was, which is he is a winning football head coach. He's an infectious, weird character that loves football, and straight away, the players love him. So I'm intrigued to see where this goes this year. I think that was a good season until it wasn't. That playoff game was there to be won. And the Chargers started very strongly, and it fell apart. Before you know it, they were down 20. So it's puzzling in a way, because, that was very un-Jim Harbaugh-like football.
Yeah, the Chargers, to me, like you said, I wasn't as high on the Chargers coming into last year. I knew they were going to be better, but I didn't think they were going to be that much better in 1 year. I thought it would take a couple of years. And looking at last year, we know exactly what we're going to get this year. And yeah, in the draft, they've gone out and drafted a power running back, and they've picked up Najee Harris in free agency. And I don't know the latest on Najee Harris with his fireworks accident. Like, stupid bonehead move by him. But yeah, we know what the Chargers are going to do. And they drafted the receiver who
Ray Harris.
You got me onto this receiver. And yeah, they needed playmakers. They needed more playmakers, because this team are not built to come back from a big deficit, as we saw in that playoff game. Like, they're a ground and pound team who need to be in close games, and they'll just out physical you, and yeah, they'll just grind you into the dirt. But this year, can Herbert take this team in the playoffs and win in the playoffs? That's the thing with the Chargers, because they're going to win a lot of games. They will. They're just too good now, and the coaching's too good. The quarterback play in the regular season is too good. The running back's going to be good. The offensive line is damn good.
You know what's crazy? I think I'm right about this. They were the number two scoring defense last year.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this defense and almost like a Broncos situation. I'm sort of like, um, who who's driving the ship here? Like, who are the marquee names on this defense? Like, I know Khalil Mack has had an unbelievable career and he's still good, but it's not prime Khalil Mack. And I'm sort of looking around saying, this is the Jim Harbaugh effect. Like, he lifts a roster.
Yeah. Well, they're extremely well coached, and they're not going to make mistakes. They're not going to. There's not going to be loads of broken tackles with the Chargers. They're not.
Unlike in the past with the Chargers.
Yeah, they're situationally now. They're towards the top of the NFL, and yeah, it's like you said, it's a little bit of a not a no-name defense, but it's not got that superstar talent on it that you think, wow, this guy. But
Justin Herbert, he has divided opinion, I think, with us, let alone everyone else. Um, I had him at eight. No, wait. I had him at 9, I think, in my rankings this year. And on reflection, I think that was probably like lower than I expected. Herbert did not make your top 10. So, obviously, I think there's definitely a difference in opinion on him. And I just wanted to sort of touch on what does he need to do to take that next level? Because when I look back at his season, I guess I reflected on this was a young offense, a lot of unproven receivers, and it wasn't clean at the start, and it got better, and he clearly built a great connection with Lad McConkey. And so I look at that and say, okay, positive. If I just look at his arm talent alone, like to me, he's in that top 4, like he's in the top 5. But as we know, it's not all about arm talent. And this is where I have an issue with him. I'll say an issue. Don't want to make it too firm, but we've seen the 2 playoff games. We've seen him basically not come through adversity to the degree that others would have, right? And
yeah,
I don't want to be too, like, it's hard because on one hand, I say it's a young group, but on the other hand, there is a level that I think he can get to that he's basically not getting to right now. That's where I am. I'm sort of like, I could see him, if he could take over games the way that those very, very, very elite quarterbacks can, he could be right up there. But can he do that? I think this is the first time where I started to doubt that, whether he can or not.
yeah. With Herbert, it's a difficult one because my at least my ranking of quarterbacks is I'll take in regular season, postseason, all of it, because I want to know that you can win in the regular season to get me to the playoffs. But then when we do arrive into the playoffs, you're at least capable of winning a playoff game. And he's been into winnable playoff games and lost
Yeah.
both. And we've seen I don't think you can give rookies and you can give youngsters in the NFL, you can give them a chance, but he's now had 2 chances, and we've seen, especially recently, we've seen a lot of young quarterbacks win, if not first year, then in the first couple of years in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So Herbert just needs to do it now in the postseason. It's nothing. There's no agenda that I have against Herbert. It's just
No.
show playoff wins. It's
the gravity of that first one, I think. What were they up? 28, 35, something like that?
I think they were up 27 in Jacksonville and lost. And they lost to Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. And Trevor Lawrence has won more playoff games than Justin Herbert. And Trevor Lawrence is never talked about in top 10 quarterback rankings, quite rightly. But Justin Herbert to me, is like talent, and wow, what a throw. Oh my God, that was amazing. But yeah, I don't yet trust him to win a playoff game.
That's
And
the thing.
and too many quarterbacks recently have won playoff games early in their career. Your CJ Strouds, your Jaden Daniels.
And I think it's the manner, right? Like it's not even like if Herbert goes into the playoffs this year and the Chargers win a blowout, it's not really going to answer the questions for me. Like it's going to have to be another one of those games like the Texans. It was there to be won, and he had, what was it? He had thrown 3 picks all year.
Yeah,
and he threw 3 picks in the game. So
I think honestly, I think the criticism against Herbert is totally justified. And when I see that he's ranked, 5th, 6th, yeah, he's more talented than Jalen Hurts. Yeah, but Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, but I mean, if you put Jalen Hurts on the Chargers, do they even get to the playoffs? And if you put Herbert on the Eagles, where it's like Herbert make one throw sort of every 4 plays, or that's where it's difficult. It's
an impossible question.
Yeah.
My thought immediately when you said Jalen Hurts on the Chargers was the running game would be incredible, by the way. Like, the read option that Jim Harbaugh would dial up with Jalen Hurts would be incredible.
It would.
And Jalen Hurts would not give up the 27-point lead in Jacksonville either.
Yeah, that's gonna live with him,
like Justin Herbert did in that playoff game.
Mm.
So there's that, but yeah, I get what you're saying, that you have to make it to the playoffs, and that's why quarterback evaluation is all subjective. It's is it stats, is it throws, is it talent, or is it toughness, is it winning close games? What is it? It's all subjective. My rankings are different to yours, are different to the next man's, and nobody's right, nobody's wrong.
Yeah,
it's just fun just to shoot the shit about, right, I don't rate this quarterback, or I do. I'm really high on this quarterback because of this and this.
Yeah.
And I can disagree with you, and that's fine. That's totally fine.
I think what is clear with Herbert, though, is he's got to overcome adversity. Because as much as I can say, yeah, it was a young group, they got to the playoffs. That proved that they were good enough.
Well, he's just got to win one in the next couple of years before it becomes a real
problem. Yeah.
Like a real thing. Like, wow, this guy.
But don't you think it's funny how it's like he's following the same path as Stafford? Because Stafford has an all-time arm. And I do think Herbert has an all-time arm. But Stafford couldn't win in the playoffs. I know, again, it was before the Lions were competent.
Yeah.
And people will say, well, he had Megatron, he had Sue. Okay, but he didn't have an overall team. But the fact is, when he got to the playoffs, he couldn't win. And then he went to the Rams and boom, suddenly it all just clicked for him. So it's got to come out of Herbert, within him. Like, he's got to be able to take over when the going gets tough. And I think that Texans game was a very clear example of him not doing it. And as you said, another young quarterback doing it in CJ Stroud. They started that game terribly. They were getting dominated. And then look what happened.
Yeah, and like I said, it's all what you value. Because if you asked a regular person, a regular NFL fan, who had a better year, Herbert or Stroud? Without question, everyone's going to say Herbert.
Yeah.
But they're right, at least statistically. But Stroud beat him in the game that ultimately mattered.
Yep.
So that's what I mean. What do you value? Do you value regular season? Wow, talent. Wow, oh my God, what a throw. What do you remember? Do you remember the throws? Do you remember Stroud getting sacked a lot last year? Or do you remember the playoff win? And I tend to lean towards the playoff win and the game that mattered, which is why I was a little bit higher on Hurts. But then I was shocked that I wasn't as high on Hurts as some people were giving me shit saying, "What? You've only got Hurts there? Like Hurts should be two because he's Super Bowl champ." And that's what I mean. You can't win. You can't win with quarterback rankings.
And it seems like we are the outliers for Stroud because I don't see him in anyone's top 10 apart from, I think, Cam Newton. So
Yeah,
again, it's like what you value.
yeah, it's recency bias. Yeah, like I said, Stroud had a worse year than Justin Herbert, but then Stroud beat him in the playoffs. But then the year before, Stroud was a superstar as a rookie. So
And Stroud didn't have, Stroud was the second most sacked quarterback in the league. The offensive line play was terrible. And somehow they still got to the playoffs. They
yeah,
still won a playoff game. And there's literally no disgrace in losing to the Chiefs. And they didn't get blown off the field. You know, they
nice.
lost the game, but it's the Chiefs.
Like quarterback rankings, I could do it. I could do it again, and I'd have a different. If I just went into it with a different mentality, then I'd maybe come out with different rankings. But that's how I got to where I got to. At least was everyone in my top 10 has a playoff win.
That's fair. That's fair. So that is the question that Herbert has to answer. And as you said, it has to happen in the next couple of years before it's a stigma and it's this guy can't get it done.
Yeah, the Chargers. I don't know. I just think it'd be tough for the Chargers because the Broncos and the Chiefs are in this division,
Yeah.
and they play week one in Brazil, so they give up a home game to go to Brazil against the Chiefs. That's the NFL. Like it should be, you know, the Chiefs have to go to LA and then they host the Chargers. That's how divisions work.
Mm.
Don't like that for the Chargers to start. I really don't like that. They shouldn't have to give up a division game against the Chiefs, which could be crucial when we come back and look at this regular season.
But
But
by all means, have a marquee game. But like you said, have it against an NFC team because this week one game isn't worth one win. Like it's potentially worth 1.5 wins. That could be the difference in the division. And you'd hate to see that, come the end of the season. Oh, the Chiefs and the Chargers, or, like last year, the Packers and the Eagles are fighting for the number one seed. Oh, but because the Packers lost on an unfit turf, they get punished for, they don't get the number one seed.
yeah, yeah, don't get me started on this international series. Having a divisional game to me in Brazil doesn't make sense.
No.
Then when you get into it, you find the real motivation. At least the smoking gun for this game being in Brazil is that the deal with Brazil isn't signed. So the NFL doesn't have a long term arrangement with Brazil, like they do with London. And I don't know the arrangement that they have in Germany, but I think if they wanted to have games in Germany, they could every single year. They could have Titans, Giants every year in Germany, and it would be set a sellout, and it would be crazy. But maybe in Brazil, well, Brazil is still a sellout, so they're going to sell out regardless. But I think that the NFL, there should be a little bit more. At least we should know there should be almost the NFL schedule. At least should be fairly straightforward. You know, it used to be simple: 8 at home, 8 away. Now there's 17. It's 8 at home, and you rotate between 9 home games for either AFC or NFC year to year. This year, it's the AFC have 9 home games. So the AFC have to sacrifice a home game this year. This is their year to sacrifice a home game. But why are we sacrificing a division game? Why is this not just an out of conference game? I don't know. I don't know. I think there should be at least, we should know the teams that are due. We should know at this point, the international series has been going since 2007. Where's the tally? Where's the table of how many teams have played internationally? And
because I'm sure the Bengals have played one.
Well, my Steelers have played one, and this is number 2 coming up.
No way. So the one against the Vikings is the only one.
Yeah, I'm sure that's right. And there's certain other teams who I know have played multiple times. Take the Jags out of it. Like, I know the Giants have played quite a few games internationally, and
the Jets, the Dolphins, like they've played a lot of games.
Yeah, and it should be the NFL. With the NFL, it should be straightforward enough to just have almost like a spreadsheet of, right, this is the last time that this team played internationally, so they're due.
Yeah.
And it should almost be an in-baked part of the schedule. Like, I don't know. I just don't think. And when you actually get into the international series, I looked on the NFL's website and they said, right, so each team has to play a game once every 6 or 7 years, I think it is, internationally.
Okay.
But then teams can volunteer if they want.
A la the Vikings this year, it seems, to have that second game.
Right, but why would teams volunteer? Why would teams that would sell out in America volunteer to play an international game abroad? They wouldn't. It's only going to be teams who do not sell out their regular season games, give up a home game to play internationally, aka the Jaguars every single year would, we're going to make far more money from this venture than we would playing the game in Florida. It should just be far more straightforward than it is, because
everyone plays, everyone rotates, and we keep it, pretty much even with how many games you're playing. Like,
yeah, I love the international games. I love the idea behind them, but I just think there shouldn't be as much guesswork behind it. And I'm not saying it is guesswork, but I mean, when the schedule release comes out, well, we know in advance which teams are going to be the home teams, but how do they get to that? That's what I think there should be a little bit more communication to the fans of how, except the Jaguars, take them out of it, how have they arrived at those teams are going to play? And if it is those teams that are going to play, then I think that it should be an AFC NFC matchup rather than a division matchup or a conference matchup.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to the end of the regular season, that's the least important matchup to decide standings heading into the, because there's no doubt that international games aren't going to be as predictable as games that are played in a team stadium.
And for that to be the head-to-head decider, whether you're in the playoffs or not, that's no good.
Yeah, I just want some more transparency at least, and I'm sure there is somewhere. But when I tried to look it up on the on Google and NFL and wherever I tried to look, I couldn't really make sense of what if is there an equation? Is there like a method in this? How we get to these matchups? I don't get it. But don't get me wrong, I love the international games. I'm an international fan, but I just want to know, how do we arrive at that point? Because
Like,
it should be fair, or as fair as possible for all teams. If you're playing a game in Brazil, if you want to sign this team this kind of contract with Brazil, then surely, I'm just trying to think objectively about this. Surely the Brazil game should be the West Coast teams. No, actually, wait. Brazil's East Coast, Brazil time zone is East Coast America. But that's a 4-hour time difference for the West Coast teams. But then London is a 5-hour time difference from East Coast. London to New York is 5 hours. But the LA to New York is 4 hours. So that's okay. So West Coast teams or West Pacific time zone teams should at least probably be in the ballpark for the Brazil game. And the London and Germany games should be East Coast teams, or, well, East and Central time zones.
Yep.
Because then that's not messing, that's the least amount of alteration to players' body clock, at least. But if you have Seattle playing the Patriots in London, well, I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to make it make sense. This international, because I can't, and I tried to look it up. I can't make it make sense to me how they've arrived at, and how they do arrive at these games every year.
Well, look at last year and this year. I mean, the Vikings and the Jets are playing in London again for a second year in a row. I don't know.
And I don't know, except through trying to dig into my short-term memory, when was the last time that the Texans played over here? Or when was the last time that Seattle... I honestly don't know. And
it's a while ago. Like, it was Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins Texans playing against the Jaguars. Like, that was a while ago.
Right, so we Google it, like the international series from 2007. It should be easy, right? I'm going to set up my Excel spreadsheet and just write. And I'm sure there's going to be outliers in there, like you with the Bengals. Like, what the hell? They've only played once. How have they got away with that?
Yeah. That was a tie against Washington. Kirk Cousins, Washington.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Crazy game. But yeah, just NFL, and I'm sure it's there somewhere. I just haven't found it. I just want some explanation as to, they could have an explanation, like a little side note, a little footnote at the schedule now, because they surely would know now for next year how many games they're going to have, where they're going to play, and who are going to be the home teams. They could have. But it seems to be that when we get the schedule release, when the full schedule release in June, I think it is, and like a couple of weeks before, yeah, we know we've got the Jags, but I don't know who else we're going to have. I really do not know. So please, if can somebody explain it to me how we arrive where we do every year with this international series?
I'm not sure they know.
And it's not me hating. I love the games.
No, yeah, yeah.
I love the games. I just want it to, because you want it to be fair. And I can't, and I haven't seen it, but and I'm sure there are people out there. I just haven't come across it yet. But can you imagine if they were doing this with our Premier League?
Yeah.
Can you imagine like the reaction that there would be? What we're going to give up home game?
They talked about it. They said a 39th game, and of course, it was met with a lot of pushback, shall we say?
Yeah, but it would have to be fully explained
Yeah,
to it. This is my thing with the NFL is I can't find an explanation as to how they get to this point.
mm.
And it should be fairly straightforward. You've got 32 teams, and
It says to me that they don't have like a robust approach. Like I think they're picking these teams on the fly.
well, it's. I mean, if I find a window in my schedule, I'll go through the because it'd be easy enough to find an international series starting with that Miami Dolphins Jets no Giants game
Yeah,
back in the day, like right, and just tally it up. And I'm sure there's going to be some teams that are because that's all you want is for it to just be as equal as possible.
yeah,
And if it isn't equal, then for example, as a Bengals fan, right, we have to play an international game next year because we're 2 or 3 behind everybody else.
exactly, exactly.